Hi there, Stacey here from Stitches by Stacey. Today we're going to be creating the Lacy Hexagon stitch. Depending on the size of your gauge and the weight of your yarn will determine what your finished product looks like. And to give you a couple of ideas, I've created a few different things using my large gauge or chunky Flexee Loom and velour yarn. You can see that this gives you a very plush product, but the lace holes are considerably smaller than you'd expect. Using the same chunky loom, I got a medium weight yarn and created this pattern. And this now, it's a medium weight yarn. The metallic is a medium weight yarn, and the mohair is a lace weight yarn. And you can see the size of the lace in here and how much larger these holes are because the yarn is just that much smaller and thinner. And because it gave me such a big difference, I took my skinny Flexee Loom and just using the mohair, I created this stitch, and you can see the finer gauge and the finer yarn created a much more defined pattern. So those are just a couple of examples of what you can expect depending on the size of your gauge on the loom and the thickness of your yarn. So let's begin. For the Lacy Hexagon stitch, you always need an odd number of pegs. I have found it to be advantageous to add a 2-peg border on either side, and that's just a garter stitch border because it frames the work so much nicer. It kind of makes it pop. So let's begin. This is slip 1, and because I'm going in this direction, I'm going to purl this stitch because I always purl in that direction. That's just me. For the first 2 stitches entering the pattern, the body of the work, is a figure 8 stitch. And that's only when you enter do you do a figure 8 on those first 2 pegs. Now, the rest of the pattern is going to be over 3 pegs. The first 2 yarns in front. Now we're going to come around the back and then come around the back again. So there's your figure 8 on those second and third pegs. And we're going to only work the figure 8 pegs. We're going to leave that first peg alone because we'll catch it on the next time we come. So here's, you can see from the past direction. So first 2 pegs, wrapping it around, work the figure 8 only. First 2 pegs, figure 8 on the second 2 pegs. And now we're back at the border again. So I'm going to purl this stitch and always true knit my final stitch, my final peg, no matter what the pattern calls for, because that gives me a nice smooth edge on my piece, a nice smooth relaxed edge as well. So changing direction, now I'm going to true knit that second peg, and there's my 2-peg border right there. Entering the pattern is my figure 8 stitch right to start. So over those first 2 pegs is the figure 8. And that's only when I enter from my edge. And now I'm going to revert back to my 3-peg pattern, leaving that first peg alone. Here's my figure 8 that I'm going to work. One, 2, 3, from the back, and there. And now we're back at the edge. So this direction, I'm going to true knit. And of course true knit my final peg. And there we have it. That is the Lacy Hexagon stitch. I'm Stacey from Stitches by Stacey. Thanks for watching.